Alright, so moving forward, I'm going to be talking about attribute selectors. So I have attribute selectors. So well, one might actually argue that class and ID are actually attributes, which is very true. But then we're talking about being specific with, apart from the class and ID, you can select with other attributes such as maybe the input tag and stuff like that, where we can have, we can talk about the input, saying where the input is actually a particular thing. For example, we can say where the input has a type of, let's say, of text, and then that is where you want to actually select. So you can actually do this kind of a thing, this kind of selection. And apart from that, you can actually, select with other attributes like data for within data attribute and some other attributes in HTML. Alright, so quickly to do that, we will come over here and I'm going to create a very simple form. I'm going to say simple form. Alright, so take it up a little bit so I can cover it. So I'll just do form tab, and for now we don't need an action. Okay, I'll cover all of that at the time. So I'm going to have let me have a div here. A div. Now inside that div, I want to have a label, and then that label I want it to have a sibling of input, and that input is going to be a type of text tab. So did it work? Oh my god, it didn't work. Okay, but that should have worked. Okay, that should have worked. But if I do this, yeah, this works actually. This one is working, but then I don't want to do that. Okay, so under here, let me say label for username, for example, username. Under here, I want to talk about the input type of text. Okay, so for now I don't need a name on it. Let me remove it. I don't need a name on it. Okay, I don't need a name there. So then I have this type of text of an input, and then I have this label. Okay, so I can actually give them the same stuff by saying how can I do that? Just I can use alternate key. If you are in Mac, the same thing, alternate key. So I can just say username here and save. Yeah, so I have a simple form with a username here. So I'll put a quick line break here, hr and save. So I can have that line break there, and maybe even BR to give it a small margin between the lines. Save, and then yeah, it looks much better now. So I have this input and this. So let's say I want to style this input, and then maybe style this one too. Okay, in fact, let me duplicate this div into maybe 3. So that is 1, 2, and 3. So this one, I'm going to select this one, Control D or Command D of a Mac to select the next instance of that particular text, and then do the same thing here. So I'm going to call this one, let me call it email for now. Let's say this is email. So just check this one's capital letter, and then let me add a placeholder here. And I should have done that in the first one. So what I'll do, put my cursor here, hold alternate key again, put my cursor in the first one, and then press tab, and I can go to placeholder. I can say enter your say username, but then of course I'll change this one to email. Alright, so the last one is this. I can call this password. So Control D, Command D. So I'm going to select that and call it password. Okay, so change the first letter, make it capital letter D. So this is my ID. I'm going to change it to PWD. I like using PWD. That's just my personal preference. Okay, and of course again add my placeholder here to enter your password. Okay. Under attributes, we talked about some of those attributes in the phone. You already talked about something like title. You can say must be 6 characters long. That kind of thing. Now this, if I save, if you actually hover here, you see, if I hover here, you see this must be 6 characters long. It's just common. That's the title. It doesn't come out in all these other ones because I didn't add any title there. So that's actually the title attribute. Okay. is different from the title we have here. Inside the head is different from that one. We're talking about this particular title. All right. So this, I want to change it to the type of, instead of type of email, type of text, I want it to be type of email, and then here type of password. Yeah. Save. So this actually type of email. I see. You can take the email as part of type of text. Can take the text and this one. So I'm going to style this form, make it look pretty good, and then of course we should have a table here. Sorry, a submit button. So a submit button. I can use input type of button. If I use this button here, I have a button. So submit button, and then I can give it an ID too if I want. It's not compulsory, just for this submit. And then that's a simple form we have here. So we're going to be styling this form using some of these attributes, like this, attributes, this attribute. So let me say, for example, I want to remember all these things are inputs. Okay, this is input, even the button is an input, another one's an input. If I want to style this button alone, I can use this attribute to style this particular button. If I want to style the email alone, I can use the email attribute to style the email. So, and it can be handy when you're working on some files. So let me show you how it is in CSS. So under here, we're going to talk about attributes, selector, use selectors. Okay, there are just a bunch of them, just for you to understand it. So remember, now let's look at our structure once again. If I go back to our structure, this is our form. Okay, let me hide these divs. Okay, so these are our structure, these are our form, which is the parent element. So this parent element now contains 3 children. Is 3 div, first div, second div, third div, and of course this one. Of course, this is also part of the children anyway. But then we have the input as the 4th child of this particular parent element. So in each of these divs, it contains in each of these divs contain the label and the input tag, which you can see right over here. But then, however, what I want to do is put it together. So to do that, I'll just select the form first. This is more like descendant selector 2, and I'm going to I'll just explain when we get there. So I'll select the form, select the div, then I can select the input inside it. Now let me show you something very quickly. If I come over here and select the form, this is the form. To make sure it's selected, if I do display none, remember, and save, you see the form disappears, which means it's actually being selected. Now, so if I select the form now, and a lot of things are in my hand right now, because I'm looking at even this descendant selector and multiple selector. All of them are going to be touched right now. Even this, using the form, I'm going to touch all of them, and anyone I touch, I'm going to show you. I'm going to tell you that's what I actually did. Anyway, so if I say back, my form is back. Now, if I do form and select the input, now it's going to select all the inputs inside this form. Now, if I come over here and say display none, for example, and save, you see that all the inputs are gone, every single one of them, because right now the form has an input, okay, many inputs anyway, but only one is directly the child of the form. Look at what I'm saying. This is the form, okay. This one is the direct child to the form. This particular input is the direct child to this particular form. Every other one is actually inside the div. So this other input now is inside the div before. So it's not. This is like a grandchild. This is like a grandchild to this form. So this is the form, the grandparent, the parent, and then this particular input. Whereas when you talk about this particular button, it's actually a direct element to this. So if you want to select direct element, what do? We add an angular bracket here. So I just hold on shift key, angular bracket. Now it's going to affect only the sign name, only the button actually. So save. You see the whole inputs are here except this particular one, because I'm telling this style to please select in the direct element to the child. Okay, this direct element to the child. The other way, since we are here, let me just talk about this. If I want to select the siblings of these, so I can select all the inputs with their siblings. So the inputs and all their siblings can actually be done with, can actually do this with all the siblings. If he has any siblings, it's going to be dealt with. So that is what we are doing. So if I want to capture the form, So if I want to capture the button, this button, I can use this to get it. If I don't want to do it that way, okay, this is one way to do it. If I don't want to do it that way, I can actually, let me copy this, comment that out. I can actually come over here and select all the inputs. Okay, now if I save, of course all the inputs are gone, but I want to select a specific input. I'll just put this square bracket and say I want the input with a type that is equal to, for example, submit. Okay, that's one I want to be removed. So if I save, you see that, oh, what happened? Type of submit, input type of submit, save. Why is that showing? Minute. It's actually correct. If you look at here, so it's saying we have a selector here. So this is the form and this is the direct input element. So I don't know why it's not. Let me give a space here and see. Save, and it's still the same thing. And now it's not even the same thing now. You have this one, another element with this. So it's actually correct this way. Yeah, it's actually correct this way. Display none. Don't I have the type of submit? Let me see. So in my form, oh, of course, it's actually type of button, not submit, and I want it to be type of submit. Actually, this should be a submit button, because remember in our first video we talked about different types of button. We have the reset button, we have the reset button, we have the normal button, and then we'll have the submit button. The one we use in form is actually the submit button. That's actually okay. And now it's gone actually, and now it's gone. All right, so sorry about that. I was like, what is going on? All right, so this is how you can do attribute selectors. So selecting an element by the attribute. So if I want to select the one that has text here, I just use text. If I save, so the one that has text is actually the username and it's gone. If I want to select the one that is type of email, I select, and then if I save, that one is actually gone. Likewise, I guess you can know what happens with the passwords if I save, and that password, the spelling is wrong. Okay, save, and then password is gone. So that's actually what we are going to be using to start the button. So I want to start the button first. I say button. This should be submit. Seriously, okay, submit, and then that is gone. So that is what I want to style. So let's style the button. Then in the other, I will use the other methods to select each and every one of these. Okay, so I want to select that using the attribute selector. And by the way, I can wipe this, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. Of course, like I said, this also gets us the button. Okay, this also gets us. But why this is different is because if I add another input now, okay. No, let's do that in a minute. So I'll comment this out. So I mean, it's working. You see, it's working. The button is gone. You know, like, okay, if I remove the button, let's just give it this style for now. So I'll say okay, if I save, first of all, I want the width to be 100%. Just width. You know, the width, the horizontal representation of the button. So I want it to have a padding of let's say maybe 10 pixels if that's not too much. I want the text, that's the font size, to be well, let's say 18 pixels kind of, and I want it to be bold, so I want the letters to be bold. So I'm going to say I want the font weight, okay, to be bold. If I to have bolder, okay, so I can say bolder, or you can, okay, see, it's actually looking good already. It's our button, it's actually looking good. So I can also say, instead of being bold, I can say I want it to be 900. You can actually type the size, and then you see it's actually there. And then I don't want it to have any border, so I'm going to remove the border. So border none. I don't want it to have outline, so outline none too. If I save, see, that's how our button is. But then it doesn't have this over, like if I put my mouse to it, it's not moving. So what I'm going to do here is to come over here and say cursor and set it to pointer. And if I save, now if I put my mouse there, see, it changes this stuff. So as we progress, I'm going to talk about even on hover, you know, layers. I'm going to do on hover definitely, where we can hover on this button and then it's going to do something. For example, should I touch that? You know, I'll get to that. Okay. So for now, I think the button is okay and it's looking cool. So let's talk about other ones. So this is how we can do attribute selector. So this is good, okay. I mean, I'm selecting it here, okay, but this style will actually show. I will tell you the reason why that is not okay, why that has to be here, okay. So what happens, what if I put another input here, okay? If I come over here and put another input, for example, no matter the type of input it is, you know, go input, enter. All right, so this is just input type of text, and I'm not giving anything. If I save, you see now it's actually taking that same style that I have here, okay. So this is another input that is taking the style, okay, of what I have. Even if I do type of password here, so you see that it's actually that input. Now if I type, you see it's actually type of password, and now it's taking the same style I have for this one. Because what this code simply means is that please take all the direct child elements of the form. Any form direct child element that is named with this input tag, please take it and give it this particular style that we have here. And that is why here you see we have another input, and that input have this style. And of course, if I put a little bit of margin bottom here, you see the separate margin at the bottom. This is 10 pixels, and if I save, you see, so that is actually what we have here, which is almost not really ideal, but what can be cool if we want to, if that's what we want, okay. So but then this style we actually have is what we want to have for these ones, and I'm going to do that in a minute. All right, so let's go over to the next input I want to talk about is the multiple selector. So we have the multiple selector. So what is multiple selector? It's simply a situation where you select more than one element at a time. Sorry, more than one tag or element, element at a time. Okay, more than one element at a time. So if I want to style, for example, since I have this username and email and password, and I think they are actually almost the same, what I can do is just to say what I want to, you know, make them give them the same. Since I want, maybe let's say I want all of them to have the same color. So instead of selecting this one separately, giving this the same color, and using the color, doing this one the same, you know, I can just simply tag all of them. So by the way, I'm going to comment this out anyway. So let's use our button. So let's use this one. So if I use this one, you're going to see that it's actually better. Yeah, because that input is no longer being affected. The only one that is being affected is one that has the type attribute of what submit. All right, let's go over here and remove that particular input. We wanted to use it for the test, and we are done with that test. All right, so let's remove that. I'm holding my control key to press control key backspace to do that. All right, so it's gone. Save password. I don't want to save that, so cancel. So let's start this. So before we start, I want you to understand the structure. Now, the key to writing good CSS code is by simply, you know, understanding your HTML structure. Look at this HTML structure. We have the form, we have the div, and then we have the label. So this is a multiple. This is actually a descendant selector. Okay, you know what? Yes, it's a descendant selector. So I'm going to talk about both descendant selector and the multiple selector at a time, so that we'll just save our time here. So descendant selector and multiple selector. So descendant selector is a type of selector where you select in hierarchy. So you have hierarchy kind of, if I can spell hierarchy, I don't know, or something like that. I don't know the spelling. So hierarchy kind of selection, or where you select elements in a descending order. Okay, so you select an element in a descending order. So that's what we do. So I'm going to be touching two of them. When I do, and this one, what we do here is basically we separate the elements with command as well. Separate the selectors with command. So that's what we do. So let's do that. So I'm going to select, for example, I'm going to select this label, which is going to be for this. Okay. So look at what I'm going to do here. So to select the label, and I'm going to do it up the top here. Okay, don't worry, let's do it. You can do it anyway. So here I'll talk about the attributes, attribute selector, descendant selector, and multiple selector. All right. So for descendant selector, I'm going to say form. The next element there is div, and the next element there is label. Of course, if I do my display none and save, you see that the labels are all gone because what? I just hide them by saying display none. So what I can do is, first of all, I want them to have a width. In fact, it's going to be pretty much similar to what we did here. So I'm going to pick that and then paste it here. So I want a width of 100%, I want a padding of 10, I want font size of 18, 18, and I want font weight of that, and then I want their color to be white. So I'm going to use color code #FFF, and if I save, and I have something like that, and I think that's too much, so font weight of 500 is okay. Save now. Yeah, it's a little bit like that, and yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So I want to do the same thing for now. I want to do descendant selector, and I want to do the same thing, this exact same thing for the input. So instead of coming over here saying form div and input, then copying this stuff again and pasting it here in order to save and get this kind of look, I will simply do the same thing together. Okay, I'll do everything together inside here. Okay, so I'm going to remove this. In fact, I can leave it anyway, but I'm going to remove it anyway, and then come over here to do this one is descendant selector, whereby I'm selecting the form, which is the parent element, then descending that to this and descending that to this. And of course, you can also add this stuff here, this greater than sign here. And if I save, of course, it's the same thing. Oh, it's not the same thing. Why is it not the same thing? Form select direct div element and direct. It should be the same thing. Why? Save. Okay, it's actually the same. Something is wrong. Oh. Okay. Okay, it's working. Sorry, sorry, it's working. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's working. It's working. That's what I need. Yeah, it's working. So you can actually do it this way, and it will still work. And you see, yeah, it's working actually. Look at this here, white color. Okay, it's working. So you can actually do that, and it will still work. So I'll put comma there, and then I also select form div element, and I also select. Well, I'll show you that it's working. The input. So if I save, it's actually working now. Okay. So what I was saying is that you can actually put the descendant, these guys here, and if I save, you see, it's still working. It's the same thing. So you can put this here to make sure that it's selecting the direct child element. This means please select the direct child element, and if you hover on it, you see, it's actually selecting the hierarchy, the form, the div, and the input. If you do the same thing here, it's actually selecting the form, the div, and the input, and it's still the same thing whether you put it or not. It will still work exactly the same way. So I can actually remove this one to show that we have the code, because I'm going to upload the code in our classroom online, so you can have the code. So if I save, we have exactly the same thing. So but then the inputs, I think the pattern is much, so I'm going to reduce it to 5 and save, and now it's a little bit better. And then I want to add margin at the top of all of that. So margin top of 10 pixels if it's not too much, save, and it's looking better. And also margin at the bottom, so I say bottom, yeah, save, and then it's looking perfect. So these are form. So have the label, we have the email, we have the password. Okay, and I have the submit button, which if I click on it now, you see it's submitting. The form is submitting. Okay, so that is how we can design a very simple form. You see how our form is looking. So we'll have this creative stuff here, we'll have these icons, and then we'll have the form. So this form, I'm going to give it a caption or a title. So up on the top here, I'm going to come over here and say, I want to give it a caption. Using the caption tag, I can say create an account. That's what, save. And then I have this create an account here, and I'm going to style it. So to style it, I'll use the same method. Go over to my styles. Under here, you can put it anywhere. In fact, let me put it at the top here. Okay. So I can say caption, which is HTML tag. I can just do that and it will work without even putting the, if I don't put the form here, that will actually work. Let's try that. So open up here, and then I'm going to say I want the color to be white. star FFF, and then I want it to be center, so I need to say test align center, and then save. Okay, I couldn't capture it. Oh, why? I don't know why. Alright, but then let me add for C to save, and then it's still not working. This is capture instead of caption. Okay, so what did I write here? Caption, have you? Yeah, caption. Okay, fine, that's not working. I'm going to use I think there's a little bit issue with this, so I'll use H2, or let me use H3 and save. Yeah, I think that's even looking much better already. So save this with H. So here, because it's H2, now I'm going to use H3. I'm going to use form here, because if you don't put form here, and of course this is going to affect every page. Okay, yeah, it's better now. So it's going to, if I don't put this now and say this, is going to work. But then any other time I put any H2 tag in any of my form, even if I come over here and say H3 and put blah 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 anything and save, you see that actually here it's still having that same style that I applied to this one. So to avoid that from happening, always make sure you select using the descendant selector. So that's why I'm using the descendant selector here, form and F3, and I have that. Okay, so that's how we can simply design this simple form. So I want you to try designing this form, like code along with me, and then try to see if you can design something like this. And I want you to screenshot it and send it to me on my WhatsApp or on the YouTube comments. I think you can drop it on the comment of the video, give me a link or your Dropbox or something that I can look it up. All right. The next thing I want to talk about are the remaining two, the pseudo class and pseudo element. And they are quite simple. I'm going to list them out, and then there are a few ones that have been added over the years, so I'm going to add as much as I can up together. All right, so let's start with pseudo classes. So the 5 I'm going to teach 5 here, but bear in mind there are much more than that. So the 5 that are most popular, of course, the most you might actually use for the most part is this. So I have the active, we have link, we have over, we have visited, and you're going to see much more of them as we progress. Active, over, visited, and which other one? One other one like that. Okay, and there are so much more of them. But then let me still talk about the pseudo elements. Okay, pseudo elements. If I remember the fifth one I want to talk about in this video, I will put it through. Okay, I don't have it written down already, so just everything's coming from the top of my head. So it's not like a prepared something I prepared ahead of time. I'm just doing it off the top of my head. Alright, so I have the after class and the before class. Now, again, there are much more, but these are the two I'm going to cover in this particular video. I'm going to cover them so as you master them very well. Apart from this, we have the where, we have so many other things there. Oh, I remember it's nth child. I have nth child. Okay, nth child. Okay, these are the 5. Of course, apart from nth child, you have other child. I wanted to just mention something that has to do with this nth child, and of course, it's like a method that has that. So these are the ones I'm going to talk about. So the 5. So here I'm going to talk about these 2 with examples. So, but of course, as I'm talking about them, I might just breeze into touch some other ones so that you see how they work. All right. So what is pseudo class? Okay. Now, previously we talked about classes in JavaScript. How we can create a class and give it something, a kind of a name, and then we'll call it with a dot in our CSS. Prefixing it with the dot in our CSS, so we can summon the class and use it and do something. However, the pseudo class, in fact, the word pseudo actually means kind of a placeholder. Okay, something that is not really there. When you talk about pseudo code, we're talking about a code that is standing as a placeholder for the real code. A a code that's not going to really do anything, you know. It's not really doing anything. It's just like an imaginary line, you know, something that is there standing in place for something else, that kind of a thing. So that's what we're saying here. So it's a pseudo class, a class that is not, that doesn't really exist. I mean, it exists anyway, but it's not like we're the one that created it. It's on the fly. On its own, it's not doing anything. We need to actually use it and then capitalize on it and do something huge. Same is with pseudo elements. So this is talking about elements that doesn't really exist in HTML, at least for the most part. They are not really there, but then we are actually trying to get them to work something for us. So have an element after another, after an actual element, and an element before that element. Let's say we have a H2. So have an element after H2. I can add an element after H2. And we can also add an element before H2. And I'm going to do examples on that. I'm going to see how easy it is. Alright, so to do that, now that we have all this stuff set up, to do that, what I'll do is what do I do here? Okay, what I'll do here is simple. Come over here, talk about pseudo-class. I'm going to talk about the pseudo classes and pseudo elements. Alright, so to do the pseudo class, I'm going to use the hover class. Let me start with the hover class. So on the hover class, you remember that I can't even do this here. So remember, we have an input type of submit here, this button. Okay, I can do it there. Yeah, I think it's fair. I can do it there. So I'm going to copy that. So this is still the same side, but I want to add a pseudo class to it. You see? So this is to tell you that we can combine all these classes together to achieve a particular thing. This, if you check very well now, you see that when you select a form and select a leading element inside it, a child element inside it, it is called a descendant selector. Now, in that leading element, which is actually the input, we're not just selecting the input, we're selecting a specific input using the attribute or selector. So right on this particular line alone, I have used the descendant selector, which is from here to here. In fact, you can even say tag selector, because this is a tag selector, this is another tag. So, whoa. So I can use tag selector, descendant selector, attribute selector, and I'm about to use, you see? So once I put this hash here, these things pop up. Okay, these are the classes we are talking about. It says represent a CSS child pseudo elements. Okay, these one are the elements, of course, immediately after the original element. So these one are the elements. You see, you can see there are so many elements here, and this one is a class. Okay, a class of active, class of blank, class of checked, and I might just touch some of these anyway because they are quite simple. Have first, last child. You see, last child of on focus. Yeah, I didn't even talk about focus. Very, very important too when you focus on it. I will touch them. Okay, I'll just touch a few of them on host, on range, and a few of them has been added new. I think there's one called where. This is the nth child element I was talking about. This is not for when it doesn't merge. This is for match. If you're using something like regular expressions and all that, we'll get to that in further classes. And then a few other things, pass and all that. So the one I want to use is actually called hover class. Alright, so this is the one I want to use. So what is hover? Hover simply means whenever you bring an element on top of other elements. Okay, when you bring an element on top of another element, then we'll talk about hover. Alright, so when I bring my element on top of this, I want to change the color. So what I want to do is simple. I want to change the background color to this blue, and I want the text to be white. So what I can do is come over here and say I want the background color to be this violet blue, violet. Something popped up now. I have to use that one. Yeah, violet. Okay, blue violet. Blue violet. Yeah. If I save, nothing is happening. But if I bring my mouse here, you see, it changes to that blue violet. So if I bring my mouse here, it changes to that blue violet. That's what we're saying. Under here, I want the text to be white in color. So I say dash FFF. If I save, you see, if I hover now, you see how it is. If I hover, the button changes to blue and the text changes to white. So this is the hover class, and then the hover is blinking so fast, I want to reduce it, I can add what's called a transition, which is still covered in a letter class, but I just want to add it here. So I'm going to say transition all, and I'm going to use 0.3 seconds. Okay, so it's a kind of a delay I'm adding to this. This is a delay I'm adding to this button. I don't want it to move fast. See, now it's no longer blinking that fast. It's not. Let me show you what this means. If I take this into 1 minute, 1 second, for example, it will take 1 second for it to transit. So you see, if I hover now, it takes 1 second before it to transit. 1 second, 1 second, and it's moving in and out. So I can actually say ease in and out here. But it's gradually fading and fade out. So if I hover now, see, it's gradually fading. The out is not working. Okay, fine. Whatever the thing is. So, but then I'm going to use 0.3 seconds here. So when we talk about this, I'm going to show you the tricks there. You know, like the face shouldn't be noticed so well. Shouldn't be noticed so well. Okay, so I think it's okay like this here. So this my button is actually sharp edge. I want to curve the edge on hover. In fact, let me curve it on the real button. So here I'm just going to say border dash radius. So to curve the radius of the border. So radius. Can I spell border? Radius. Okay, radius. Wow, radius. Oh my god. Alright, 4 pixels. Okay, what about it? So you see now the button is now rounded. Okay, which is cool. The button is now rounded, which is cool. So it's looking much better now. All right, so what I want to do next is this. I want to be able to okay, that's the first hover class. So what about active class? Okay, active is the moment when it's clicked. Okay, so I can get another class when it's clicked. Let me just say, for example, whenever we click this button, I want it to be so on active. So active simply whenever this button is clicked. So whenever it's clicked, I can say I want to turn the background button to aqua, for example. So whenever I click it, the background should change to this. So save, you see, I hover on it, it's like that, but when I click, you see, it changes to that aqua. Watch. Changes it happens kind of fast that you might not even notice it, you see. Aqua. Okay. If I change it to something like maybe red, maybe it might be noticeable. So save. So if you come over, if you click, see, that red comes in. Alright, so that's what we're saying. So it becomes active. Active is actually at that point when the button is activated. Okay, it's actually working. That's what we call active. So, but I'm going to leave it that way anyways. Alright, so that is what we can have there. That's what we can have here. Okay, so and I don't want this button to be this. Let me change the color to that blue one. Let me take it to violet. So I don't want the text to be, where's the button? Okay, so the button, I don't want the text to be black by default. I want the color to change. I want the color to be that violet color. Oh, not that color. I want it to be violet. Yeah, see. That's too light. Let me change it to blue violet. And save. Yeah, much better. Okay, so that's how I want it to be. I think it's more better. So look at our color combination. We're trying to manage our color here too to make it look presentable. All right. The next thing I want to do here is Pseudo. So I've covered hover, active. Let me cover focus. Okay, whenever it's focused on. For example, this username. I want whenever the username is focused on, I want to do something. I want to do something with that. So what I want to do is simple. Of course, this white background on these buttons, you can remove them. Okay. In fact, let me show you in a minute. You can just select these inputs. We want to add a particular style to it. We're just trying to make these things to look as real as possible. So our inputs, all of them, I can say I don't want border around them. Okay. I don't want any border. I don't want any outline, none or 0. Just by saving, you see how it's looking now. It's looking better to an extent. So I can say I don't want background color. I want the background to be transparent. Can I say do that? Transparent. And now this is how it's looking. Okay. So if it's transparent, I can say I want to have only border dash bottom. So I want to have border at the bottom, and I want that border to be 1 pixel. Solid means I want it to be a straight line, and I want it to be, let's say, white. And if I save, this is how my form is looking now. So I believe you must have seen all this kind of form before. Okay, so I'm heading somewhere, just follow me gradually. So I can, let me increase this thing to 2. If I save, is this way. Okay, it's looking this way. All right, but then if I don't want it to be straight line, I can want it to be dotted line. So I'll say dotted line, and if I save, you see now it's a dotted line. I think it's even looking cool. Okay, it's a dotted line. So you can actually do it that way. But if I don't want it to be dotted, you can want it to be a dashed line. So I say let the line be dashed. If I save, now it's dashed. I think I'm going to look at this way. I'm kidding. I'm going to make it a straight line. So to make it a straight line, remember, change it to solid, and it's now solid straight line. Now, what if this text is actually somehow, it's kind of weird. So what if I want to touch it? I'm going to use the pseudo class, element. It's a pseudo element actually. So what I can do here is to come over here, and then I want to target the placeholder. Okay, target the placeholder. Remember, in our HTML, we gave it a placeholder. Come over here. So let me just open maybe this one. You see, there's a placeholder here. Again, you can say target it by the attributes. Of course, it's an attribute. Okay, target it from the attributes, and then do whatever thing you want to do with it. But then, what we want to do is just to keep it simple. So first of all, I want the color of that to be white. Let's do white and see. You see, now it's white and it's not looking good, but I want it to be faint. So because I want it to be faint, I'll add what called opacity, and I'm going to set it to 0. Opacity is from 0 to 1, so it cannot be more than 1. So you see that's 0. If I do 0.2 and save, you see it's very light there. So if I do 0.9, it's actually very cool. But then I'm going to do something like 0.5 or 0.4. Let me do 0.3 even. Yeah, I like it that way. It might not be very readable, but let me do 0.4. And then the font is big. I want to reduce the font. And the font I'm reducing is not the font of the inputs. I'm reducing the font of the placeholder. Anything I'm going to do here is actually for the placeholder. And the placeholder is a pseudo element, and that's why we're using 2 semicolon here. Okay, yeah, 2 semicolon here. If it's a pseudo class, we use only 1 semicolon. Very, very important too. Please note that. All right. So I want the font size here to be, let me say 12 pixels. Save. Wow, 12 pixels. Save. No, that's too small. Let's do 14. Save. Let me make it 15. That's okay. So I'll leave it that way. Okay, we can add later on in this course. We're going to be adding some animation. Then maybe when you click on this form, there'll be some animation. Maybe this float, this label will just float up here, and then you can type whatever you want to type, or maybe the line will disappear. All those kind of things. So you can actually style your form to look anyhow you want it to look in your work. All right. So that is what we can do on that particular element. I mean, there are much more. You can think of what else you want to do. Just drop the comments and drop your idea on the comment box, and then I will do that. Okay, I'll try as much as I can, and then do the design or do a video on that, how you want your form to look like. Okay, so though we'll still be doing multiple forms, stylings and all that to keep it up with the tutorial. This is going to be a full course on front-end development, so everything that has to do with front-end development will be covered definitely in this course. Alright, and the course outline is already out. I posted it, and you can go on, look it up. Alright, so having done that, the next thing we want to do is, the video is already getting too long. Is Pseudo-elements. Okay, I mean, you can cover the long. Okay, let me say, that reminds me. Sorry, on focus. Okay, so we want to do on focus. Okay, so when it's on focus, what do we do? Now, on focus is actually whenever the cursor is blinking here, when we start blinking the cursor here. What do you want to do? For the most part, I don't want to do much. Okay, look at what I'll do. I'll just change this to some 0.7. Yeah, that is okay. But then on focus, I want to actually reduce it to something. There will be that. So on focus, I can say I want to reduce it to 4, and then maybe I might want to increase the font size or reduce the font size or something. I don't know anything. So I can say maybe here the font size should be, I think it should be 16. Let me leave it at 16. Well, let me say here I want it to be 18. save. Okay, so if I click, you see what happens. So if I click, anyone I click, it dims. The thing will dim. Okay. The font actually they call everything dims down. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So on focus, actually, I can even say on focus. I want the background color to change. Let me show you something. So we actually know it's working. Let's do background color of red, for example. So anyone I focus now, the background color, you see, it becomes red, which is even cool. I mean, I kind of like it. I'm going to leave that. It's cool. All right. So you can actually click on it and then type whatever thing you want to type there and have it. All right. So that's what we're saying. So you can actually click it around and see. You can also add transition to it. Another thing. There's so many things you can do to this to make it look good. I mean, it's looking good already. Okay, click there and then type. Let's actually type something. Okay, now you see when we type, it's been affected. It's affecting what we're typing. We can't even see it very well. So what I can do here is actually to change that. Okay. So but after we must have typed it, it's actually changed. It became white in color. Why? I mean, it's cool. I even actually like it anyway. But then we can, of course, then again we can style it. So which means if it's valid, it's going to be white in color. Okay. I add an email at yahoo.com, and that is cool. I think I like it that way. Yeah, I like it that way. Then I can type our password, and then password didn't change like that. Okay. But it's cool. Alright, so you can actually submit this form and then it's submitted and it comes back to normal. Alright, so that is a little bit of a challenge you can add to this form, and then you can do much more with it, and then it looks good. Alright, so let me talk about Pseudo-elements briefly before we go. So to do that, I'm going to come over here and demonstrate some few things before we call it a day. Okay, under here I'm going to have an article tag. Inside this article tag, I'm going to have a paragraph of lorem test. So lorem is a demo test that I can use. So I want, let's say, 30 test demo test here. Press enter. It will give me 30 tests here. Okay. So under here, I'm going to have another one. That one is going to be, let me say, 50 tests. Sorry, lorem 50 or 60, anyone. Enter. So I have that. And then finally, let me have another one. Okay, that will be lorem test. I want 20, for example, and then this 20, I want it to be maybe 4 of it. Okay, for now, let's leave it here. So save. If I come over here, I see that I actually have this test here, and it's not looking good. Let me just add a margin here. Okay, hold on. Did I paste it inside the form? Oh my god, it's not supposed to be inside the form. Cut that out and then put it right here where it belongs. Alright, save. Okay, that should be better now, right? Did I save? Yeah. Okay, so under here I'm going to add a line break. Okay, much better. Alright, so shift tab to push it over. I need to push it backward. You know, normally when you press tab, it pushes it in. When you press shift tab, it does. Of course, shift does reverse everything you are doing in your work. Alright, so this looks, I mean, pretty good too. It's still okay. So these are article tag. You can give each of these elements. You can give each of these elements an ID. Okay, or yeah, an ID to target each and every one of them. But that's not what I'm going to be doing. And what if there are 1,000 of them? What will it do? Will it give all of them ID? No. So I'm going to style all of them by using the pseudo elements and pseudo classes. Of course, pseudo classes first. Okay, so let's come over here. Still working on pseudo classes. I want to select the article. So using the article tag. So on the article, I mean, what I want to do is not much. I think it's okay like that, the way it is for now. So I'm going to select all the paragraphs inside it. First of all, I want the color to be white so I can see them. So white, if I save, they are now white in color. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to add margin in between them. So I'm going to say margin, in fact margin top, I'm going to do 10 pixels, and if I save, they will now have this kind of little gap between all of them. Then I want them to be justified. I want them to be properly aligned. They're not properly aligned. I'm going to say test dash transform. No, that should be okay. That should be test align. Yeah. just a line. I'll say justified. Yeah, if I save, now look how cool it is. It's looking what almost cool. So I want the font. The font is a little bit small, so I'm going to increase it by saying I want it to be 18 pixels, and then I want letter spacing of 1.5. Okay, so I say letter spacing of 1.7 pixels and save. And I think 7 pixels is too much. If I let me remove it, let it be normal. So save. Yeah, looking like that. I also do line height. I'm trying to touch as much as I can. Line height of 2 pixels. Yeah, no, 2 pixels is more. Line height of 19 pixels or 20 pixels. 20 pixels. Oh, that's too much. Oh, I still want it to paste. You know what? I'll remove. Come on, 20. I want to do 20. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 20 is actually kind of fine. Okay, but I'll remove it anyway. So we can do line height, can do line space, and all that. Alright. So for now, I think it's cool the way it is. So what I want to do is simple. Let's say I want to. I'm going to be giving a different background. I'm going to be giving the same background. But before I do that, I'm going to select them using the end child. Okay. Yeah, I talked about the end child elements right here. So there is the end child here. So that's what I'll be using to do that. Okay, and I've not even touched links. Maybe I will. Okay. So but before I do that, I want to talk about selecting the elements dynamically. For example, I say article P, and I want to select first. I can say first sentence or first child. Yeah. Okay, let me select the first child, and I want to color it red. Sorry, I want the color. If I let me do background color, I want the background color so we just see it properly. The red. Now, if I save, you see that the first child, which is this particular one, the background color is what? Red. So out of these paragraphs, you have the first child, which is the very first one that occurs in that paragraph. I want it to be red. Of course, you have the last child. You know, if I save, see that the last child is actually the last paragraph there is now red. And then we have the first. Let me start from first again. So we have the first element. Of the first element. I'm not sure. Okay, we're done. Not first element. First. Okay, first letter. Sorry, first letter and first line. Yeah. So save. How the first letter. I see the first letters are the. So this is good if you want to do something like drop cap. I'm typing drop cap. Actually, you can do font size of that particular element. And say you want the font size to be 45 pixels and save. So you can do something like this, drop cap. Okay, that's what we call it in MS Word. So you can use that to do it. So, but then that's all what I want to do. So I want to take the first line, for example, and then save. See that the first line, or the first line will have that. And of course, if I expand this thing, it will adjust that very first line, no matter what it is, will also be affected. All right. So that is what I want to do on that. But then, however, I want to select the end element, end child element. So I'll say end. You can select end child. You can select last child, first child, like you've seen me do. But let's say you want to select a custom child element. So let me say I want to select the first element. I can just put one here, and if I save, sorry, first it should be it's a pseudo class. Sorry, you should have one. So save. So the first one is affected. If I want to select the second one, I can put 2, and the second one is now affected. If I want to select the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, and so on and so forth. All right. So that is cool. That is cool. But then, what if I want to select elements and I don't actually know their colors? I don't actually know what they are. I don't know their name or something. So what I can do here is simple. I'm going to choose okay. So I'm going to use two times. So I'm going to apply the what we call the odd and even number. Okay, applying what we call the odd and even method or even number method. All right. So here I'm going to say this one should be the, let's start with even. and then I'm going to copy this again and paste it here and say this one should be odd number. Alright, so what I want to do on the even, I want it to be orange color, and on the odd, I want it to be, let's say, plum. And now watch, if I save, see that if I come over here, you see, it will alternate that particular color. And then I don't like that one, so I'll use what color is this again? Let me check that color. I think I like that color. Okay, light sea green. So I'm going to use light sea green. Light sea green, that one. So if I save, yeah, I think it looks better now. So and it's not looking too good anyway. So I'm going to add padding to it. Alternate key we did before. Enter. So I'm going to add padding. So padding of 10 pixels should be okay. Save. And now it's looking much better. Okay. So I want the edges to be curved. Remember, as to do that, hold on alternate key again. So I can say I want border radius of 4 pixels. If I save, now the edge is actually curved. Okay, this is how we can apply these simple styles to our work, and then it will work. All right. So on the general paragraph, I want, okay, not that, on the article itself. Let me say I want on the article itself, I want it to have a margin button of 20 pixels and save. So if I come over here now, I should have some, yeah, I should have some space here. Okay, so this is how we will design this simple but very beautiful UI application that we can use on something. Okay, very simple, but cover a lot of things. And the beauty part of this is, the more I add paragraphs here, the better it looks. Okay, let me show you very briefly. So let's say this particular last one, this last paragraph, I want to copy it down like 4 times. So I'll copy. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 4, 4. Yeah. Save. Now you see that if I come over here and scroll, you see the same thing is repeated. The same pattern is repeated just because I used the end side of odd and even number. So it will repeat that particular pattern over and over again, and it makes your work look amazing. Okay, so that's what we can do. This pattern is used in charts. In charts, when you're designing maybe charts, this can be a chart. Maybe this can be a send. This can be a reply. That kind of a thing. All right. So having done that, I think that's enough for that. So I'm going to deal with Pseudo-elements. All right. To do that, I'm going to come over here to the line break. Maybe put another HRM break, and I'm going to do a section here. Oh, section. All right. So in this section, I'm going to have a div. In fact, I have 2 divs. This first one, I call it section 1. Section 1. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but it's coming. Okay. Section. Come on, can I type section 2? All right. So seriously. So section 2. If I save, and then at the bottom here, I should be seeing section 1 and section 2. And maybe I think this is a nice time to put our footer. So I put a comment and say footer. Come over here and say footer. So inside here, I can just do copyright. I say all. I'm going to use HTML entity here. So I'll put the M percent. Put copy. Is that how we do this? Yes, that's how we do it. Copy and say all rights reserved. Okay, all rights reserved. www.cybergate Academy. Academy.com or cyberacademy.com, whatever you want to do there. Okay, just testing. Okay, so then I mean that is okay. Save, and then we should have our footer here. Yeah, so this is our footer, Cybergate Academy. or cybergate@academy.com. So let's do justice to it. So I'm going to apply. Okay, let me just style the footer a little bit so that to allow us to do what we want to do here. Okay, so to do that, I'll just add. Just come over here and say footer. Alright, so the footer, I'll give a background color of I want it to be lighter than the original. Okay, let me do black. Okay, I want it to be a color of black. So that black is too black. So I'm going to use either the small value of 333, which is a little bit light. So if I save, you'll see that down there is actually somehow. So I want the width to be 100%. So I'm going to say width 100%. And then I'm going to make it important because I want it to overwrite every other width you have. Because now if I save, watch, if I save, it's still, I don't think it's really, it's still no longer 100%. And in fact, if I do important, it might still not be 100%. And then before we're going to do positioning, so you can see how if I do important and save, you see, it's still not covering there because already something is there. So what I can do is to change the position of this by saying position. To solve that problem, I can say position. I can do absolute. Okay, then I'm going to say bottom, which is the position. I'm going to say bottom 0. I'm going to say maybe left 0. And then if I save, and then that is wrong, and then our footer is here. So where it's supposed to be. Of course, yes, because I need to come over here to the, I think it should be the body. Yeah, I need to tell it to be position absolute relative. Yeah, I think so. Save, and then that should work. Yeah, that works. Not really. Why? Okay, I'll figure that out. Or is that where I'm supposed to put it? I'm not sure. But by default, the body is that. Okay. So anyway, so come over here and I'll cover that. Okay, as we proceed, I'll cover that aspect of it. Even though I was hoping it to work. So if I save, I still get the same thing, I guess. Yeah, the same thing. You know what? I'll keep it that way. For now, the more we work on the file, you can work on that. So, but you see, you can actually do something like that. But then, I don't know why it didn't work. It should work. Right. Okay, so I'll just use 100 view width. Let's see. Yeah, 100 view, and it's now overflowing. Okay, so let's just keep it 100%, and then I think that's okay. We're going to talk about these units later. So I want it to have a lot of padding. So I'm going to say padding all around it of let me do 50 pixels. If I save, it should have a lot of padding. Yeah, the padding, and I want the text to be white, color white. And not too much. Let's keep it simple. So save, and then it should be white. I want it to be centered. So text align, text align, center, and then that should be all for now. That should be all. You can have other things, but then I'm okay with this. So I can just put line height of let's do 20 pixels. Save. Okay. Looks like it's not enough. Okay, yeah. This is okay. So that's what I want to have there. I mean, it's okay by me. You can do more. So finally, let me talk about Studio elements. The time is already fast spent. Studio elements, and then we can call it a day. So under here, I'll talk about Studio elements. Alright, so what is a Studio element? So let's first of all select these. We have something here, which is a section. This section is a parent object that had 2 children, which is div 1 and div 2. And of course, remember, we can select them with using end child. This is the first one, and this is the second one. So that's what we're going to do. Select the first one, and then select the second one. And then we're going to play around with them. Okay. But we don't even need two of them. We don't need two of them. But then we don't need two of them. No, we don't need two of them. Let's just use one. Okay, comment this one out. Save. Should be one. Let's use one. All right. So come over here. I'm going to say section. Of course, you can give the section ID or class or whatever. So I'm going to select the direct div element in case if I alter it later. And then yeah. So doing that alone, I'm going to say, I think I'm going to repeat some of these styles here. So let me repeat this from the line height first. So what the background, I want it to be something light. In fact, I can change it to white. Let me change it to white. Which I say FFF for 250. You can use that. Then the color of the text, I want the color to be black. Yeah, I think that black is okay. I want it to be centered. I want it to be 100%. So save. If I go over here now, yeah, good. I have a section 1 that has something like that. All right. The text should be bold. I just say font weight. I'll make it bold. All right. And save, and it should be bold now. All right. So this section 1. This is what we have here. Quite simple. I can want to fold this to edge, make it, rounded. So to do that, I'm going to fold two of them using border dash. Now I have the top dash right radius, and again I have the top left radius. So two of them, I want them to have maybe 4 pixels or 5 pixels each. So if I save, you see that these edges should be curved. Yeah, you see the edge here is curved and the edge here is curved, and they're not properly curved anyway. So I can say I want them to be maybe so 5. Let me do 10. Do 10 here and save. So it should be looking much better now. Yeah, looking much better. Even though I can see a line. Oh, from our line break, I think we did a line break from our HTML. So I'm going to remove the line break, this particular one. So I remove it and save. Now it's better. All right. So that's what we can do. So we have this section here. So now what is pseudo element after? So let me do pseudo element after. So pseudo element after will still take the direct div element, but then we're going to have these two classes and we'll say after, and then after is what we want to add after the class. So the very first thing you need to remember that whenever you're using it, you need to put content and you need to set it empty. Whatever thing you put here becomes what you see first. So I can say this. I can just say after class. Let me say after class. I will this space and save. If you come over here now, you're going to see after class. So this is after class. Okay, I should use this space here. Actually save. So I'll have after class. So section 1 after class. You see now. There's one thing with this after. If you want, I can select section 1. You see, I can select it, but after class is not selectable. It's not selected. See, if I get here, it doesn't select. Try to select it, cannot select. But I can actually select the section. I can select all these ones, okay, but then I cannot select this one. Of course, if you want to do it here, I can actually disable the mouse. I think you can disable mouse disable. Let me see that property if it still exists. Mouse event. I think. Okay, sorry, pointer. It should be pointer event. I'm not sure. Yeah, pointer events none. I think. Pointer events none, and if you do that, we shouldn't be able to select. I don't know. We're still selecting. Okay, but then something like that, I can't remember. Okay, so so we're adding this after class here. So the same thing goes with the before class. So I'm going to copy this and save. Now I'm going to do one very important thing here. So just follow me. I'm almost done. So I'm going to say before class. So this is before. I don't need this space. I don't need the space here. So in fact, let me remove this and put it here. So if I save and refresh now, you see, I'll have before class section 1 after class. Okay, so which means this thing I'm adding from CSS is actually an element, and that's why they are called what? Pseudo elements. So it's actually an element, but the thing is that it doesn't really exist in HTML. It's a pseudo. Remember, it's a pseudo. So the funniest part of it is that this element can be treated just as you treat your normal element. Okay, for example, the after class, now I can actually decide to change the color to, I don't know. Let me change it to red. Red, for example. Oh, let me use that blue. I love that blue. Royal blue. Yeah. Okay. Let's say make it bold. So I can say font weight. Make it bold. And if I save, you see that pseudo element, see, it's actually bold. Okay. Then the before class, the same thing goes there. I can actually make it red. I can say color red. Red, yeah. Yeah. The same thing, make it bold. Copy, come over here, paste, save. That the two of them, this one is blue and this one is red. So this is how you can create elements, and this is just part of it. You can give them background, you can give them color, you can give it text. Anything you can do to a normal element, you can actually do it here. Okay, so this before element and this what is actually our actual element. So you can actually create a div that doesn't have anything inside it and just put something inside it by just doing this. Okay, and you can even make this whole background more beautiful by even adding a whole color. You can add a background color to it using Pseudo-elements and class. Now there's something I do in one of my web application. The time is already fast spent, so I'm not going to cover that. But when we do design, because at the end of this course we'll design an application. We'll keep designing things. Maybe when I talk about when I will do background properties, I'm going to touch that where we can actually do this. I can add a background color, not background color, sorry, background image here. I'm going to cover this image. Okay, so far so good. It has been awesome, designing this particular program. Thank you so much for following me to this point. Thank you so much for staying with us. What we will promise is that by the time you keep on following this channel, following this class and what we are doing, our goal is to make you a developer from the very comfort of your home. Make you a developer. You become very strong in developing. Mind you that we have so many other courses. We have Python courses, we have PHP courses, we have C# and some other courses coming your way. So please stay tuned and never let go and keep practicing. Till we meet again.